了主持啊。喂，轮子啊。你要他们
院长听到我们声音了吗？
听到了，听到了。
没打开，没打开，给这个。
开始吧。
Good morning, Professor Zeng. 早安，国华。早安。
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very good. Wonderful night.
Wonderful
Everyone
night.
here is refreshed and excited to see you showing us the flexible ureteroscopy with
okay.
a bendable tip suction sheath.
Okay.
So, can you please tell us on the X-ray what are you doing? It looks like a big soft stone in the kidney. Is that right?
Yeah. First, I will introduce this patient. This patient is male, 39 years old, and this is right pelvic stone, about 1.5 centimeters, and the distal ureter very small stone. For semen, I must first to do simulate uroscope, remove this no ureter stone, very small stone, how size? 多大?
Is this stone in the renal pelvis? Which part of the kidney?
In the renal pelvis.
In the renal pelvis, okay.
Yeah, but you know, in the right, the same side is distal ureter stone is 6 millimeter.
Where?
You know?
In the ureter?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the ureter. The first I must do semi-rigid ureter.
Semi-rigid ureteroscopy,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Wow, we are very excited. So, so looks like something that we would all do. And anyone wants to do anything different? Because especially when there's a stone in the ureter, then you do a ureteroscopy, and you could continue on to do a flexible ureteroscopy. So there are papers to show that if you have a stone in the ureter and you also have a small stone in the kidney, do you do both at the same time, or do you just do the stone in the ureter? Both, yeah? It's better to do both where possible. Okay.
Actually, now, for upper ureter stone, I usually to do flexible. And for middle and sometimes for distal ureter stone, I usually do semi-rigid ureteroscope.
It's good to hear that from an expert, you know, because many people would start with a semi-rigid ureteroscope for stones in the lower, mid, and upper ureter. So it's good to hear from an expert that for stone in the upper ureter, you go straight ahead with a flexible ureteroscopy.
Yes. Okay, now I will use this semi-rigid scope. Is you can see.
Yeah, and how big is your semi-rigid ureteroscope?
This wolf semi-rigid, and I think it's hip is 80 French, and 8到9.8是吧?
8 stroke 9.8, yes.
Yeah,
I've got the same scope as well. But
Yeah,
why
yeah, yeah.
don't you why don't you use a 6 stroke 7.5 French wolf?
Yes,
Because
Stephen, you're right. Sometimes for this, sometimes I usually use this size semi-rigid ureteroscope. Sometimes this orifice is very narrow. This scope cannot go in. I can change small size one, maybe 6.5, and another is 4.5 from
yes.
for company. Yeah.
Yeah. So this patient is not pre-stented, is that correct?
Yeah.
Not pre-stented, so yeah.
I can try with this 80 French.
Yeah.
Stimulate.
We have the same. We have wolf in my hospital, Wolf, 8 stroke 9.8. It's what we started with many years ago. And then the 6 stroke 7.5 came out. So we got that. And we also have the 4.5 French pediatric ureteroscope, all by Wolf. But now we've moved on so that the first scope I would use is a 6 stroke 7.5.
这个是
But
右
the
边，
8 French one, the vision is very good. Very good view. But it's not our first line anymore. We might use it in a pre-stented patient. So, Guohua, good. You are challenging yourself with a big ureteroscope, and let's see what happens.
Try it, try it.
Yeah.
You see, this is right
So
side.
I started with 6 to 7.5.
Yeah,
that-
6 is good. But usually, I use this 8 French simulated uroscope. I can use pneumatical. I think if you use 6.5 French uroscope, maybe you must use laser. Yes.
Yeah. So, do you use pneumatic to save money, or do you use pneumatic because it's more effective? And what is the reason for using pneumatic?
I think it's
Because
safe.
safe? Sorry?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you mean you save money for the patient?
Yeah, I think the safe is pneumatical than laser.
Okay.
You never cook urethra.
Yes.
I think I can go in, 7.
Doing very well.
Yeah, I can go in.
What is that white tube? Is that a guide wire or what?
This is
Open-ended.
reference this reference urethra catheter.
Through your ureteroscope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I use maybe I can use pneumatic laser tip.
Yeah. That's a good thing about, seeing live surgeries, that we all do things so differently. So it's good to see. Yeah, what's the diameter of your open tip, that white tube, the ureteric catheter? What diameter, what size is it?
3 French.
3
French.
French. 3
And
French. Can you put a guide wire through if necessary? Or you can't, because the guide wire is also 3 French.
yeah.
So if you
I will-
need to, can you put a guide wire through your
No.
ureteric catheter?
No need.
Oh, you got grasper as well.
Yeah.
Are you putting all that through your ureteric catheter or not? Have you
No,
taken
I
it?
must taking it with grasp. Okay.
Okay.
But for tips.
Yeah. So there's so many different ways of doing things. It's just interesting to see another way of doing things.
Oh. Nano.
Yeah, good question from the audience.
Yeah.
What are the benefits of using your ureteric catheter instead of a guide wire earlier?
Actually, for this, I don't know the guide wire. I only use this three French urethral catheter to guide this scope.
Yeah, but why? Why not a guide wire? Why with a ureteric catheter?
I think urethral catheter is good. It's not easy make perform for the urethra.
Not easy to perforate a ureter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the catheter is not open-ended. It's the
And
the tip
then sometimes maybe
is closed.
it's hip.
But
It's hip.
the opening is in the side.
On the inside.
On the side.
On the other side.
on the
yeah,
side.
Yeah. So you can put contrast through if
Yes.
necessary.
They can put
But
contrast
the
on the
tip is closed.
Closed.
Closed-ended. Yeah.
Closed.
Okay. Another different way of doing things.
because they don't usually use the guide wire. The additional time.
Okay,
They
so
want
this
it fast.
remove
So they
stone
they
pieces.
just follow through the ureteroscope. They just inserted the open-ended stent and then push it. So you don't put the remove the ureteroscope again
Ah,
and then insert the open-ended.
okay.
Save one step.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna check. I must check guide Y position. Is up to a ureter, up to a kidney or not? X3.
So, Guohua,
Yeah.
you did this very, very quickly and very
Mm.
nicely.
Mm.
But could you have flushed the stone back into the kidney and do it all
Flush? No,
together in
no,
the
no,
kidney? No.
no, no.
Since you're going to break the stone in the kidney, could you have flushed with saline and push the stone back into the kidney and then laser all of them together in the kidney?
It's a good idea, but for this I can use some pneumatical and I can break this stone in the ureter, in the lower ureter. Then you can remove this stone with forceps. I think it's good. Sometimes you cannot do this. Sometimes you push this stone down up to the kidney. It's okay, no
Yeah.
problem, because you can treat it with treat this stone, treat this pelvic stone together. It's okay.
Very, very good demonstration.
Yeah.
So when you do a semi-rigid ureteroscopy, is that how you would always do your to remove a stone in the ureter? What you did just now, is that what you would always do? Is that your standard procedure? Because of course it is slightly different in different places, you know. But in here, is that how you do it all the time? What you just showed us.
Actually, for simulated uroscope, I always do like this. Numerical tips, and then I almost remove all stone fragments as soon as possible, as possible as possible.
Well, it's good. We've just learned a new way of doing things. That's good. And the
Yeah.
grasper, we saw that your grasper. Who makes that grasper that you can insert through the semi-rigid 8/9.8 French ureteroscope? Is it a Chinese one or is it a wolf one?
At the same, sometimes European people and American urologists remove stone, use basket during the simulated uroscope. But I think basket is costly, and for this grab, for this forceps, it's really useful. Maybe very economic.
No, it's very good. Yeah, that's why we want to find out what brand is it? Who makes it? Who makes that grasping forceps?
No people.
So you've got one guide wire,
Yeah, I
and
won't get
you are about to insert your access sheath. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can show this. 先把这里推开 X-ray.
I see that you are setting up your
Yeah,
flexible
I
ureteroscope.
can show this flexible uroscope. This
Yeah.
scope is from Chinese company Red Pine.
Yeah.
And you see, I see this is size. This is size is 18.5 French, and the working channel is 3.6 French. It's the same, and you can see this is upper deflation. Is almost 218 degree, and up the same. Same. Can you can see?
Yes, we can see that. Thank you for
Yeah.
moving the X-ray machine away.
Yeah. I think this is European type. You see, if you wear down is up is down. Your left is right is left. Actually, European type is opposite, always opposite. You went down, you must up. You must see right, carefully. You must note the scope is left. I make it clear.
Yeah, I had the advantage of seeing that lovely flexible ureteroscope with the Red Pine team yesterday, and the handle is very ergonomic, very light, and also on the handle, Guohua, on the handle, you got 3 locking position, right?
Yeah.
Once you flex your tip, you can lock it in different
Yeah.
position. There are 2 ways of locking it, and it's 8.5 French, which may be useful when you want to deflect your steerable access sheath, because if it's too small, because nowadays they're making something like 6.2 French flexible ureteroscope. So if it's so fine, then you may not be able to deflect the steerable access sheath, you see. So I saw this yesterday. It was very nice, very nice.
Okay, Professor Semen, I
Yeah.
will show this bendable, hip bendable suction sheath. You
Yeah.
see, this is going. Okay, I
Yeah.
can raise this. So this is. I think it's how much degree? Maybe almost
90 degrees.
19 degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then up is 70. Yeah,
Yeah.
up is 70.
Yeah.
So sometimes you IP angle is very small, very acute. Maybe this sheath is impossible to reach this upper pole. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Is
will
this
show
is this a red pine access
ribbon.
sheath? This is a
That's
ribbon one. Yeah.
ribbon.
And what size is this one? What size are you going to put in? The 12, 14,
11,
11,
11,
13,
11 30.
11, 13. Okay.
Yeah,
All
okay.
right. Yeah.
I can show.
So can we have a reborn? Can we have a reborn access sheet, please? Can we have your access sheet? Yeah. So I had a look at it yesterday. The tip is very nice. You know that the enforcement doesn't go to the right to the very tip, and
So your question is the deflection is already decreases, right? Compared to without the access sheet. Actually, you can add more deflection by pushing the ureteral access sheet by passive deflection.
it's called secondary deflection.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just like doing a flexible ureteroscopy. You can push your flexible ureteroscope against the renal pelvis, and then you can deflect more.
More.
So it's more
这个看得到吗？
in a system with hydronephrosis. Then you can't then get down your lower pole. But
After you push your access sheet or
Before you push your sheet.
对，抽它一下。
Example. This is your ureteroscope, right? This is your access sheet here. You find the lower pole or lower pole stone.
yeah.
And then you insert your access sheet to it. Because your access sheet will follow your ureteroscope.
Yeah. Let's go with your let's go.
Yeah.
Maybe fix it with positional lock.
With that ureteroscope, you can fix it because there's a lapping.
yeah, there's that
Semen, Semen,
Yes,
Professor Semen,
yeah.
I can show how to insert this
Suction sheath.
suction sheath endoscopic view. You see,
Yeah.
this is ureteroscope and
Yeah.
the sheath together. You can see this tip sheath is going to the orifice. You see, it's going.
Yeah.
It's going. Then you actually orifice usually is very narrow in whole ureter. In whole ureter, maybe
Yeah.
this sheath can pass the orifice mostly. About I think is 19%. You can pass the middle ureter. You can pass the upper ureter.
Yeah.
Oh, I can show it's going. Then I back
That's-
this ureter.
Very
then-
nice demonstration.
Yeah,
And then by feel, and
Yeah.
and then when you meet resistance, you do an X-ray spot.
Yeah.
And
You must
let's,
gently. You see?
Yeah.
You can see my. Uh,
your
you
right
must.
hand in the left hand. Yes, we can
Yeah.
see. So
Okay. Slowly advance this, and then you move the guide wire gently. Forwards and back. Forwards and back. It's very smooth. Means this and the guide wire is in one line. Is in one line.
yeah,
Okay.
that's a good trick. Okay, by moving the guide wire, if it moves freely, that means everything is in line. Okay, it's not. Uh, it's a smooth line.
You will feel some resistance if there's a problem in insertion of your axis
Kink,
sheath.
yeah.
You must make a feeling. Oh, this is okay, smooth.
That's a very
And
good trick. Yeah.
not too
Correct.
fast. Slowly, and gently.
So if let's say your sheath are bending
Okay,
your guide
I can
wire
check. I
and
can
not
check
going
X-ray.
straight,
I think
then
it's
you can't move it freely. If your sheath are going meeting resistance and going out of course, then you can't move the guide wire freely. You're right. It's not something that I'm doing, but it's a good trick that I'm also learning. You know.
same. Professor, same. I must check position of sheath. X-ray.
Yeah. It was only for
I think it's
demonstration.
going.
Because many of surgeons now are afraid of exposure to radiation. So especially the young Chinese doctors now are very afraid also, and other urologists from around the world. We are
I
afraid
think
of
it's okay.
radiation. So one way to decrease our radiation time is this technique.
Okay, now you see, this is in the UPJ,
Yes.
and then I remove.
Can you see where the tip is? Where the tip is? Because there
Yeah.
is quite a long distance between the tip of the introducer and the actual suction sheath. You know. Yeah. So now, are you too short?
I to show this tip of this.
You
Pardon?
need to know that there's a tip here. Yeah. So
I can see. Quay lại đây.
different length. Yeah. Yeah. So are you going to have a look, or are you happy that your sheath is not too short, that is not in the upper ureter, and you're going to have a look now, yeah?
I think it's enough for going to up because it's outside is at least 10 centimeters. For this for male, maybe this is length is up to 15 centimeters.
What length is your access sheath? This one that you chose?
50 centimeters.
50. And you got how much? 10 or 15 centimeters coming out of the penis?
Now I think I check maybe.
Yeah.
Told you. At least
No, the one is 50.
At least I think 3 centimeters is outside the penis.
Yeah. So
Then
you don't want too long, isn't it? You don't want too long coming out of a penis. You want just the right length. So now after you put the you can connect this. Wow. How
And
do you
then
connect that?
Professor Simon, I
Yes.
connect this suction. And then for this, with this suction,
Yeah.
I usually use the pump irrigation.
Yeah. So
This how much ratio? Irrigation flow. 130 milliliter per minute. Oh no, the pressure.
130 millimeter of mercury.
Mercury, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, this is mercury.
Yeah. And can I ask you something, Professor Zeng? Do you know your suction sheath? Sometimes once you connect the suction tubing, it drags everything. do you just get your assistant to hold on to it, or there's a special way to secure that suction tubing so that it doesn't drag everything down, you know? So I see
Okay.
that the assistant is also holding the suction tubing and is also controlling the suction as well. Can you see that?
Yeah. I can see this is stone, and this is the upper pole.
So that's the upper pole, is it,
Yeah.
Professor Chung?
It's going to
Okay.
the upper pole, and
Yeah.
then this is stone.
That's the stone, yeah.
Mhm.
And where is the tip of your sheath? In the
Yeah.
upper
Tip of
ureter,
sheath,
or
upper ureter.
that looks
Yeah.
might be okay, right? Might be okay
Yeah, but
because the
sometimes you
PUJ is generous.
you can go in. You can go
You
in.
can go in, yeah, yeah,
Actually, Professor Simon,
yeah.
and for traditional sheath, sometimes you cannot push. You cannot advance.
Correct. You cannot advance anymore. Once you,
Maybe you can damage your mucosa of ureter. But for this
correct.
sheath, you can. You see,
You can go up
push.
some more.
Yeah, you can
That's
go up some.
useful to know, Professor Chung.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you see.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
good.
Then I can touch the stone, and then it's okay, and the suction is okay. And then
Yeah.
you see, I can show how to go into the low post, low
Lower
pellet.
pole, lower
Low
pole,
pellet
yeah.
maybe it's very difficult. It's very difficult. You see, you cannot go in. This is a problem.
Cannot go in because of the angle, because the sheath
Yeah,
is stopping it from you from going down.
yeah.
Without the
But
sheath, you can go down easily, yeah?
yeah.
Okay.
But without the sheath, you can scope is going down very easy. But
Okay.
with sheath, you see,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
sheath, it's very difficult. You cannot go
Difficult,
in.
yeah. You cannot go in. It's
Okay.
so useful to know all this, almost like secrets, you know? Because,
Yeah.
you know, when you hear about people doing it, oh, it's so easy, but you need to know the finer points, the potential problems like this,
Okay.
which
Now we
we
are
don't know.
use Lisa. With Dustin setting, 080 euros and 30 hertz, altogether 24 watts.
Okay. And what is your suction pressure at the moment?
Suction what?
The suction
Told you.
pressure. So you got 130 going in.
To 0.02 MPa.
Okay.
MPa.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, it's not easy to convert the suction pressure to the irrigation pressure. So,
Yeah. You must be careful.
yeah, must be
Must
careful.
protection.
And also look at how distended your
Yeah.
renal pelvis is. You don't want it to be suction too strong. There's no space to see and laser the stone. You don't want the renal pelvis to be too distended and then risk high pressure damage. Wow. So this is like
Can
Super
see?
Mini. My
Yeah.
gosh. Super Mini is dead.
Yeah. Because Simon, for
Yeah.
this people, them
Bendable sheath. Yeah.
bendable sheath, he can go into the correct system, and
Yeah.
then you can touch the stone, then you can
Yeah.
suck the stone very fast.
Yes.
You think you will do PCNL, Paul? Do you still do PCNL if you have this? Yeah. It's very soft stuff.
And a generous ureter. You can get a
Yeah.
pin. So yeah. So this is 1214.
12.
Yeah.
Yes. Without basket.
Do we?
Don't need a basket. Almost for this case, don't need it. But sometimes for low stone, this cannot go
It's
in.
there,
Maybe you
it suctions
need a
there all the
basket.
time.
There's also continuous and passive suction and
Especially.
If you want to suck the bigger part, you can do the active suction.
So yeah, there is a hole. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
是它的。
Yeah. So it depends on the size of your fragments, you know. If you dust it, you don't, okay? Because your sheath is 14 French, your scope is 8.5 French. You have got a difference in the gap, isn't it? So if you dust it, you don't. But if you get too many fragments, if you have too many fragments blocking your view like this, you then have to pull back and then, you know, beyond the Y arm, like SMP, and then you suck it out of this side. But I suppose if you have too many bigger fragments in front of you, you can continue to laser, continue to dust until they go around it. Yeah. So let's see what happens with this one. So is Professor Chung going to continue to dust it or to suck it out? So it looks like Professor Chung is, yeah, but no, you have a very, very experienced professor helping a professor. So that's why it's looking beautiful, Professor Chung.
You see too many fragments.
Yeah, so there's a very good question.
Yeah.
In a situation like this, do you pull back to suck the big fragments out, or do you dust the big fragments to make it smaller to go around your flexible ureteroscope? Are you withdrawing?
Actually,
Mm.
for sometimes maybe this uroscope very small size,
Yeah.
maybe 7.5
7.5,
French,
yeah.
and then this maybe is five five and
French
five
difference, yeah.
French. You see, and the gap between scope and sheath up
14,
to
14 French
four.
and 7.5. You have
Yeah,
6.5 French around it.
yeah. No. 4.5 French.
Okay.
French this gap between scope and this, then I think it's 1.5 millimeters stone can suck out automatically.
Around around your flexible ureteroscope.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like your SMP. Very nice.
Yeah. And for this, you can make a dusting. You
Yeah.
can sometimes you can make a dusting with the thulium fiber laser. It's
Yeah.
good dusting. It's okay.
Yeah.
But the laser is stone hard. Sometimes stone hard is very stone hardness is too low. CT, HCT, HU is only less than 6 and 80.
Yeah.
HU maybe you can dust very fast. And for this case, this scope is 80.5 range, and this is 11. Maybe I will with dusting twice, and sometimes the stone is very hard. It's more
Yeah.
than 1,000 HU. Maybe fragmentation is better.
Yes.
Depend the stone hardness, when the sheath size and the scope size is you can make. Eh?
Yeah. I mean, it's very good demonstration
Yeah.
at the moment.
The water.
10, 12. Yeah. This is 11, 13. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why, you know, you want to, there's always this talk about dusting versus fragmenting, but nowadays, you know, a lot of people prefer to dust first, and the fragments is only, if you have no choice, you're left with some fragments, because sometimes towards the end, you cannot control the fragments, and that's another reason why some people prefer to play with thulium fiber laser, because you can use a much higher frequency, like I use 100 hertz, and you can dust better. So when it comes to suction, dusting is superior, okay? This one is 30 hertz and zero point 0.8 joules, I think. 30 hertz, yeah. So the frequency is 30 hertz, and the
Yeah.
energy is zero point 0.8
Yeah.
joules. So
Yeah.
0.8 times 30 is 24 watts, yeah, 24 watts. So yeah, these are all the things you need to play with, you know, your frequency, your joules, depending on the hardness of the stone. This is luckily a soft stone. It's a brilliant demonstration. And the good thing about suction, do you see? It sucks the
Mm.
stone in front of the sheath. So you can
Yeah.
just laser there. And
Yeah.
sometimes you can laser inside the sheath. It's very
Yeah.
safe. Yeah. It's very similar to doing a super mini PCNL, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
similar, very
yeah,
similar.
yeah.
But SMP sheath maybe it's short, and this sheath is long.
Some cases lower pole you can, some you can't, you know. It's so with experience you will then learn. You saw you can only deflect 90 degrees, and Professor Zheng showed us that in this particular case, it was difficult to deflect into the lower pole when you have the sheath next to it. Without the sheath, the scope goes down easily.
It's just for this axis sheath, or when
Yes.
there is another kind of sheet we can do more deflection.
No, I think we are limited to the physics of having a tube. Just like, for example, without when you put a flexible scope into a kidney, you can go everywhere. And then you start to introduce basket, you reduce deflection. You introduce laser, you reduce deflection. And that's why the laser fiber sizes are coming down, you know. And so if you use a smaller laser fiber, you can deflect better. And with thulium fiber laser, the technology is such that you can have a 150 micron laser fiber, which is more difficult to get with a holmium laser, you know. So the thulium, you can get a very fine laser fiber as well.
There are some other ureteral access sheet also that you can not better or
Yeah,
More deflection.
not
not
necessarily.
you can it's up to you what to decide which one will you like. Okay. But
Also,
there are.
yeah, you need to try them because if you have your tape too soft, it you cannot insert easily. So you have insertion problem. For example, like your stent. If you have a silicone stent, it's more difficult to insert because it's a softer material. Same problem. Okay. So with the Cleopatra, yeah, yeah,
but
because yeah.
Professor Simon,
Yes, Professor Chung.
yeah, sometimes for this suction sheath keep bendable sheath,
Yeah.
and you only use single use because you use reusable use is very easily damage the scope. So you always um, uh, forced it to make this just definition. It's very easy to damage the scope.
The flexible that is also a very very good point and a
Yeah,
very inside information secret that you are challenging the scope more and more by having the so Professor Chung is saying that it's better to use a single use flexible ureteroscope rather than use your digital reusable scope, and if it breaks it's 15,000 pounds to change another one. So I asked that question. It was 0.2 MPa, which we have no idea what it is. So it's the same as sometimes the suction machine is like 5 or 10 or 7 or 12. You have no idea what it is. But 200.
To actually just use them, is it collapsing or is it too distended?
Yeah, it's a good
That's how I do it. That's how I do it. Yeah.
I see that my resting system is collapsed. That's okay. Yeah, as long as the vision is okay.
Yeah. 0.3. That is for super mini PCNL, okay? But if you do a flex URS, I would not go so high.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go so high because um, I this is just reached this steerable suction sheet has just reached UK, and even if it reaches UK, you can't always get it up into the renal pelvis like this, not all the time. sometimes it's in the upper ureter. And so in this case, you can tell that whatever goes in comes out immediately. And you can tell that Professor Chung is using 130 millimeter of mercury. That means it goes in very quickly and comes out because otherwise you could be using, let's say, 50 millimeter of mercury, and the drainage back is not so fast, and there's more chance of heating up the kidney, okay? And the pressure, So the good thing, advantage about suction, whether suction mini PCNL or suction, you can use higher pressure, get better view, suction out the temperature, the heat quicker. So it's many advantages.
Yes, yes, right, correct, Simon. Sometimes you must keep irrigation pressure is more than suction,
Yeah.
Yeah. If suction pressure is more than irrigation pressure, because collecting system is impacted, you have no space for your operation. Yes.
Everything is collapsed around the stone. You cannot do the see properly. You cannot laser the stone properly. So, but I mean, it's interesting. We're all talking about the suction pressure, Professor Chung, because like even in one of our suction system, it's like 5 or 10 or 7 or 12, and yours is 0.2 MPa. Like no one actually knows what is the equivalent millimeter of mercury of suction is, because ideally, if you're using 130 millimeter of mercury irrigation, you want 100 suction, so you get 30 millimeter of mercury difference. That is the ideal. So perhaps you should design a suction system in millimeter of mercury. But we have a different system. The second system that we've got currently does give us the measurement of the suction in millimeter of mercury.
Actually, there's a machine already that from the same company of the SMP. They have
Hawk, is it? Hawk.
It's a Hawk company. The irrigation and the suction pressure, you can control it
in one machine.
Yeah, this is irrigation and the irrigation pumper and the suction machine is in one machine. I think it's
Designed by also
company.
Professor Zeng. Yes.
So, Professor Chung, why are you not showing us that lovely machine? Why are you not using it?
I think this machine is come out. It's ready. In Chinese market, you can use.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, we learned something else new as well.
Actually, I have that machine. Yeah.
I think Professor Albert use this machine, suction and irrigation and the suction machine in one unit. You use it?
Yes, Professor. I still use it. I love it. I love the machine.
Do they have the machine here today? Do they have the machine in on the Hawk stand today?
I don't.
No.
They don't have it today. Ah, what a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, laser setting. Yeah.
Actually, Professor Simon, with this suction machine, I have finished how many cases? Maybe about 200 cases.
Yeah.
But low case have post-operative favor. This is imagine.
Oh, I can see the X-ray stone is nearly gone. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, I have finished that. I have finished more than 200 cases with this suction machine. And my fellow Dr. Tu tell me, so far no patient had post-operative favor.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, this is amazing.
I have to say that I noticed something similar with super mini PCNL as well, that there's less infection than when I was doing it with standard PCNL. So the suction and always keeping the pressure low does actually, in my impression, reduces
Yeah.
the risk of fever and
Yeah.
sepsis. And Professor Chung is saying the same thing as well, even with flexible ureteroscopy. So to answer your question about 0.3, 0.6,
Laser stitching 0.6. In this case, it's make less fragments less bigger. We can work easier.
no. So not quite, not quite. Basically, the higher the frequency, the more dusting. The higher the joules, that means the joules. So the frequency means it goes very fast, but the joule, the zero point 0.3 or zero point 0.6, zero point 0.3 might go like this, and zero point 0.6 will go double the energy. Okay, it will hit the stone harder. It will break, cause more fragments.
0.6, I think.
Yeah.
Less energy, and we maintain the same frequency, 30 Hz.
No, so no. So at the moment, Professor Chung is using
0.8.
0.8. Yeah.
So I
So.
reduce the energy.
Yeah. So it depends on the hardness of the stone, okay? So if a stone is soft, it doesn't matter what you use, it all works, okay? But if the stone is very hard, you want to increase, and if let's say 0.6 doesn't work, you can increase to 0.8, and you can increase to 1, you can increase to 1.2. So you have to be flexible and understand how the different settings work, frequency and the energy, and you need to be able to play with it during the operation. So during the operation, if it's not working, because the stone is too hard, you have to increase the joules from 0.6 to 0.8 to 1 to 1.2. Uh, no. There is a limit. There is a limit depending on the size of the fiber you use. Okay, so the size of the fiber will dictate the power you can use, the total wattage you can use. And once you know what the total wattage you can use, then you can play around with the frequency and the hertz. Yeah, because you'll find that when you play around with the settings, when you increase the, let's say, the frequency, you keep increasing the frequency, but you keep the same joules. But when the two exceed the total wattage, the joules will suddenly drop by itself, will drop. If you keep increasing the frequency, the joules will automatically drop by itself to reach the maximum setting. Yeah. Of course. Yeah, that's a very good question. Okay, when you do ureteroscopy and RIRS, you should always try the lowest power. Okay, because you don't know what the temperature is going to be like. You don't know how effective the suction is. And suction varies from case to case. Unless you get a beautiful, perfect case like this, where your sheath is in the renal pelvis, which you don't always achieve. So, I would always start low, with maybe 4 watts, 6 watts, 8 watts. But I'll be in the kidney, yeah. And then of course you can gradually go up. If you've got very good irrigation, then it doesn't really matter. You can go up to 10, 15 watts in total. But so if you have to go above 30 watts, that's when people start to get very worried in the kidney, and perhaps that is not the correct operation. Perhaps if you fail, then you should think about switching over to super mini PCNL to treat your stone. Yeah. No, you should try to keep below 10. I would say. Try to keep below 10 to be safe. 10
Semen?
watts. Yeah.
Professor Zeng,
Yes,
you think
Professor Chung.
you suction sheath, you must withdraw this scope very slowly, not too fast. If too fast, stone cannot follow you. Sometimes I always teach my fellow, you must be patient, not to hurry up. Sometimes you find your girlfriend, you can slowly, not too fast.
That is another very good a very good tip, very good tip. And this is the same for 14 French Super Mini PCNL, isn't it, Professor Chung?
Yeah.
Same principle, isn't it?
It's
So-
yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Professor Chung, there's a good question from the audience.
Mm.
What kind of power uh, do you prefer to use in the kidney? Like you will not go above 30 watts, or what is the kind of typical laser setting you will have
Okay.
in the kidney?
Okay. Actually, yesterday in my presentation, I always tell everybody for in stone in the ureter, it must very less power, very less energy, laser energy less
Yeah.
than 10 watts. But for this in kidney, maybe irrigation in and out, irrigation in and flow in, flow out is very good. Maybe at least for me, it's less than 30 watts, 30 watts,
Yeah.
less than 30 watts. Not, not
in
too high.
less than 30 watts in an ideal situation. But what
Mm.
about if you are not so sure about the pressure, not so sure about the suction because the tip of your sheath is in the upper ureter, not in the kidney? Then will you use like less than 10 watts?
Yeah, 10 watts, 10,
Yeah.
10 watts.
The lower the better, basically. The lower, the same as radiation principle, you know. The lower, as long as you're making progress, the lower the yeah. Hmm. The pulse width, is it? Okay. So um so the pulse width is to either dust or fragment, right? So if you want to dust, then you go on a long pulse width, and then but then it's less effective on the hard stone, you know. I used to, but the newer laser machine, you don't have to anymore because newer machine you choose fragmenting or dusting or yeah, they already set it up for you. Okay,
It's already preset, right?
yeah. But in the older machines that we still have an old machine. I will put it on long pulse width to dust. Yeah, and then you need to know about thulium fiber laser. Okay, so the difference between holmium and thulium fiber laser, the main disadvantage of thulium fiber laser is that the peak power, okay, the peak power on the stone is much lower than holmium laser. So you do not use a long pulse width. Even though you have it, you don't use it because it's a weaker machine, okay? It's a weaker power. The peak power is lower. So there's no point trying to use a long pulse width. You should always use a short pulse width.
Yeah, and Simon, you are right. Sometimes shooting fibrillator is peak power is not too high. I remember it's less than 500. Yes?
Yeah.
Less than 500.
The peak power for thulium fiber is 500, and
Yeah.
the holmium could be 1,500. You know, the peak power.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that could be one reason why thulium can dust so much better as well. And holmium tends to break the stone into fragments, is because of the peak power as well, you know. Yeah, that's a very good question as to how long you would limit
Yeah.
your operation. So if you use a suction system, like what Professor Zheng says, that he's done 200 cases and he's not noticed significant post-op fever. So because of that, you can go a bit longer, okay? But if you really have to go more than 2 hours or even 1.5 hours, actually you need to rethink for the future. You need to reflect. Maybe I should have done a super mini instead. So we have to continue to learn from our lives and our experiences.
Professor Sen? What is your time limit in your suction flexible URS or bendable suction sheet? Do you have time limit for now, or you just staying 90 minutes? For your
think so.
200 cases, what is the longest hour that you have done the flex URS?
For me, at least is 我做过最长的 is 100 minutes with the suction sheath.
1 hour and 14 minutes. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's. I think I was just saying that
And,
with suction.
and my fellow Dr. Zhou, he have at least 2 hours. 2 hours, but this patient is okay, no fever, no complication.
I'm still doing the
This is good.
Even though I'm using, I'm still.
So sometimes with this
Yeah.
suction sheath,
Same.
maybe you can
I'm not pushing
you
the
can
suction-
do more
suction sheet.
longer operation time, maybe up to 2 hours. I think it's okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you know, if you use a very big excess sheet like a 13, 15, then you're putting a lot
Yeah.
of pressure on the ureter. And
Yeah.
if it happens to be a generous ureter, you get away with everything. But if it's a tight ureter and you force your way up with a 15 and just about made it, and you operate for a long time, then you're
Yeah.
more likely to run into problems with ureteric
Yeah,
strictures, you
yeah.
know. So every case is slightly different, you know. So you need to, yeah, that's why it's good for you to ask questions, and because, you know, yeah. The breathing,
I must check. I
Yeah.
must check this upper pole. I
So-
think it's no stone. More
So
piece.
yeah,
More
you,
piece.
you have a
More piece. With more piece. Fine. This piece.
Do you work with the same anesthetist when you do your stone cases, or do you have a mixed operating list where you have TURP, TURBT? Yeah. So yeah, basically the anesthetist will usually slow down the respiration because they know that otherwise you're firing against a moving target. So we are fortunate we work with a regular anesthetist, and they know that they're coming to do a kidney stone list, because when it's my list, it's only stones only. So so they know to slow the respiration down to 6 to 8 breaths per minute. And if it's going too fast, because every patient is different as well, the lungs are different, the build are different, then you tell them and they can slow it down. They can just give morphine to slow it down. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So many conferences, they were asking me, what's the point of doing this?
Yeah.
So nice and respect.
Yeah. Because in stone centers, the anesthetists are used to optimizing the breathing rate, you know? Yeah. Yes.
In Prof.Guohua 200 cases,
Mhm.
efficacy of so efficacy of fasting while functioning with reputation and still
You don't need.
Okay. Let me ask Prof. Yeah, yeah. Professor Cheng,
Yeah.
that's a good question from the audience. In your 200 cases, uh, do you have a special favorite standard technique of breaking the stone? Let's say, do you only try your best to dust only, or in your 200 series, you got half that are dusting, half that you are trying to fragment as the principal way, as the main way of breaking the stone? Do you have a different, a particular technique that you prefer to dust only to start off with? What's your technique of breaking the stone?
For some tips and technique for this suction sheath, you must the suction must go into the correct system. This is very
Yeah.
important.
Okay.
You must then, the second, you must use this tip of sheath and very close to the kidney, very close to the stone.
Correct.
And then when you break stone and some small piece is suction out automatically from around the
Around the
sheath
scope.
and the
Yeah.
sheath and the scope,
Mhm.
and then you can suction out. And then, so lastly, you must for attention, irrigation pressure and the suction pressure. This is very important.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah. So your preferred technique is to dust the stone first where possible, dust as much as possible to get the tiny fragments to suck
Yeah.
out around the between the scope and the sheath. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I do as well. So you can't say that, yeah, because nowadays many people prefer to dust. Yeah. It's the way, yeah, it's the way forward. Yeah. So you know that there was always a debate like a few years ago, dusting versus fragmentation, you know, but in practice people don't do that anymore. People dust first, you know, and they are left with some fragments that they can't.
Imagine
Yeah.
if you're going to fragment it and using the basket. Yeah. Inserting the basket.
What's the problem?
Sometimes they know it's you have a large stone for that, right? The dust just accumulate and it goes like
Okay.
like flush the tunnel, right? Sometimes
Okay,
you
this
just
is
settle down, you know,
That's why the suction.
this is the upper pole.
You need a suction. Yeah.
This is middle. Then
Sorry.
I go into the middle. Middle is
The
small.
interpole calyx, very good.
Yeah, yeah. This is middle calyx.
Professor
Yes.
John, when we are extracting the fragments, do we stop the irrigation fluid through the suction sheet temporarily? And when we extract the fragments, then again,
Simon, I cannot catch this
Yeah.
question.
The question is, when you are sucking the stone out, do you stop the irrigation pressure going into the system?
No. Cannot stop. When you suction this, you must close this hole. You see?
What's the gap?
Maybe you cannot
Yeah.
see. Yeah. My fellow is when we suction stone out and then here we are close this, increase suction pressure, aspiration pressure.
Yeah, because if you close the irrigation, then the suction will suck the urothelium into it, and the suction
Yeah.
will stop. You know, so that's why you need to continue to irrigate, and the positive pressure also contributes to pushing the fragments out. Also, okay.
You cannot stop. You cannot close the irrigation. No
Yeah,
irrigation,
the
no
whole system-
water.
The whole
No water.
PC
You
system
cannot
will collapse. You know?
suction
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Sorry. Was... This is a SMP version.
because the suction immediately come out of the sheet. Other than
That will be too big. Too big, yeah. Imagine it will be a 2 layer.
That means your sheath size will get smaller, and yeah, it's the same issue with the SMP version. Like Albert prefers the second system where the sheath hasn't got 2 layers. You know, yeah. Yeah. 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Yeah. Yeah. Professor Cheng, good question from the audience. You know, like for different flexible ureteroscopes, some lasers come out at 3 o'clock. For example, this particular one comes out at 3 o'clock. So do you think about whether what scope you use, whether the laser fiber comes out at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, when you treat the right kidney or the left kidney, do you bother to fine tune, or do you just use your experience and your expertise and you get to the stone anyway?
I think this fiber out position from scope, I don't matter this because for pelvic stone and middle stone, upper stone is no matter. But
Yeah.
sometimes for lower stone, it's matter. For example, this is stone. You can see this stone in 3 o'clock. Maybe you can use 3 o'clock fiber. Laser fiber out the scope, and then you can see this is stone in the line. Okay, you can use. You can change it. This is very small trips and tips. I think this urologist is I think he should do a lot of flexible uroscopy. This is good question.
Yeah. So, and it's a very good answer as well, Professor Cheng. Very good answer. So, it's only becomes an issue where the calyx is unusual position, like the lower pole, or if the upper pole calyx is not straightforward. Like if it's straightforward, it doesn't matter with 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. But some calyces, are a bit bendy. That's when sometimes you can see it, but you can't laser it. That's when it matters, okay? So we are in the process of getting disposable flexible scopes that the laser fiber comes out from 3 and 9 o'clock. So we are getting that, but I don't think it's that necessary. It's not that important, yeah.
So, Prof. Simon, your opinion is also doesn't matter.
Well,
I mean,
we are getting it just because we we want to play with it, but majority of cases it's not relevant. It's not relevant. You just have to twist your wrist, make it harder on your wrist, but you get there eventually. And if you really can't get to it, you have to pull it out, reposition it, and then you laser it. And there are ways to get around the problem.
So there's always this urban myth says, left side you use 3 o'clock, right side you 9 o'clock. Does it really work that way? I'm not sure. What about your answer?
Well, many people have never done that. The whole world doesn't do that. It's just one or two super specialists who will talk about it. They themselves may not do it, but they talk about it because it just appears special, But it's in real life, it's not that relevant, isn't it? Yeah. Changing the position, the lateral decubitus position.
Oh my God.
Not easy. Let me ask Professor Cheng.
Yeah.
Another good question. Yeah. So, do you put your patient in the lateral decubitus position to treat a lower pole stone?
Actually, I must check image. I must check image.
Yeah.
This IP angle is very small, most less than 30 degrees. Maybe the patient don't like to PCN SMB. Maybe I can with this position. Otherwise, I don't use this position.
Yeah. Is that a theoretical thing that some super experts do? Is that something that you rarely do?
幸辉，我没听懂他这个问题。
Yeah, very sorry. So this lateral decubitus position, you explained very clearly that you will sometimes do if it is less than 30 degrees between the IP angle. But of all, let's say, of all the IP angles, less than 30 degrees, how many % of cases do you do in the lateral decubitus position?
您
Like a jelly.
是经常用这个还是很少用？
Not too often, not too often.
Not too often, yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But it was very good to see that demonstration yesterday. It was a superb demonstration of the lateral decubitus position.
Yeah.
So may I ask why? In all the cases that are less than 30 degrees of IP angle into the lower pole, why do you not do a lateral decubitus position for all those cases? Is it because it's tedious to set up the position, or
一下
because you can get away with it? So not always, not too often.
曾教授，您不经常用这个方法，是因为您觉得这个体位不容易摆，还是说您觉得不是那么必要？
I think this is laser position for flexible for low post stone. I think I not regularly use this because first is position is must not too easy to play. This is the first reason, and then sometimes you must change your 改变你的一些操作的东西。吴教授，你给我发一下，我要讲不清怎么说了。
You have
也就
to
是你的
change
习惯，
your
你的
manual,
habit。
I guess.
Standard procedure.
Yeah,
Change
yeah.
from the standard procedure. And
Yeah.
also, you cannot
Yeah.
X-ray. So that's a disadvantage. If you cannot
Yeah, yeah,
X-ray, when you put a
Yeah.
sheath up, when you want to,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a disadvantage
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Then the last same is right. Is you cannot use X-ray. You cannot use X-ray to check everything because this is
It's over the spine.
near the spine. Yeah.
So now you see, it's now at 9 o'clock. And when the stone is there, you wish it was 3 o'clock.
9 o'clock maybe is better. But no, but I'm not with sheath. I can go in this.
Ideally, if you can, you should suck it out. If it's only going to take a few more, 1 or 2 more minutes, you should suck it out, okay? Because otherwise, they will accumulate all in the lower pole.
Before.
Before.
I will. Yeah. If you can do it, you'll do it. If you can do it without over prolonging, as long as you're making progress, you can continue. When you stop making
Needle.
progress, you need to reconsider your option
I can
B, option
show
C.
this. No problem. Oh, this is more piece. Let's get going.
Sorry, I have another question. Regarding the ergonomics, the surgeon ergonomics on. So for Professor Zeng, after doing shoulder aches or following the surgery, because sometimes after a prolonged time you can get a bit of soreness at your shoulder. So how do you maintain a good ergonomics throughout the procedure?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. For example, Professor Cheng,
Yeah.
very good question. How do you set up your system in such a way that you don't get shoulder pain and shoulder ache after a long operation, whether it's a flexible ureteroscopy or whether it's a super mini PCNL? You can see that Professor Cheng's shoulder is completely relaxed, okay? And also, number one. Number two is, Professor Cheng, you do this operation standing up. I do it sitting down. So, are you sitting down or are you standing up? down. Yeah.
教
Okay.
授，我们 catch 他这个 question，你给我翻译一下。
曾教授，您平时习惯坐下做手术，还是站着做？因为这个体位是很不舒服的。
Generally speaking, I always sitting, not stand.
Today is
Okay.
special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you set your whole system up so that many of us after a long time of operating we get shoulder pain. So what does a world expert do to prevent shoulder pain? Shoulder discomfort after a long operation.
Yeah.
What are your tips and tricks?
您有什么秘密跟我们分享？怎么样防止手臂、肩膀的疼痛？
Actually, the first I will use right hand to hold the scope. You see, you
Yeah.
must hear. You
Yeah.
see.
You have support.
Elbow
Yeah.
into the
Support.
body. Yeah.
And
Not like that.
sometimes left side I put here. Maybe it's okay.
Support.
Not for patient's leg. It's for this.
On
For
the
this.
the leg support. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you feel comfortable, not too tired.
Professor Zeng, can you show us the chair? Your chair.
Professor Chen.
And doing
Yes,
RIRS.
okay. Okay, I can show how to 这个椅子给我坐一下。
So that they can see the
Yeah.
how do you do it in
Yeah.
the usual way.
Yeah, you see, I can see. 把床降低一点。
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, chairman. You see, this is okay. Actually, you can do it. Yeah, this is really comfortable.
Yeah, you have to adjust the table to come down when you sit down. Sometimes. So that
Okay.
was a very important secret, okay, tip that if you operate,
Okay.
you have your elbow
Chairman, I
out.
must check
Okay.
different calyx stone is very lot. I think this is the upper pore small piece.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very small and very, very tiny piece. And this is upper. And then this is upper, larger
Yes.
calyx. And this is the middle. I think
Okay.
it's middle.
Yeah.
And then take a low. Low is where?
Yes. It's a walk in the park.
This is larger, middle. I think this is low. This is low. You see?
Yes.
Low. This is the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the larger middle.
Yeah.
This is the middle.
Something laterally.
Yeah.
Interpole
This is-
lateral.
Yeah. This is the upper pole. I think it's a small piece. This is,
Yeah.
I think it's very tiny maybe. It's,
This is tiny, but if you come
yeah.
back to the middle pole, the interpole, if you and then
Yeah.
you look more left, there's another calyx more left to it.
Yeah.
There was a tiny fragment.
Yeah. And this.
Yeah, more left. No, go.
This is the upper. This is the lower.
Yeah, but the interpole there was a lateral calyx.
Ah,
That
this one.
yeah, that one has a small stone in it.
Yeah.
It's not. No. Yeah,
No,
it's
no,
not.
no.
It's a papilla. It's not a stone. Yeah.
Yeah. Popular.
So
yeah.
we were discussing about the protocol for the trial and all that. Now that you've done such a wonderful, beautiful surgery, it's not necessary to do an ultrasound and X-ray tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Get away. And everybody must know. You must check. You must check condition of urethra. Is damage or not damage? It's
And
very
will-
important.
And after a suction sheath, will you always put a stent?
Yeah.
Always?
Yeah. Always.
Yeah, I agree.
Always. Then.
What about if the patient was pre-stented and then you do a suction sheath? Will you sometimes not put a stent in?
Yes, after operation, I must put it DJ stand.
Okay.
Because you use this.
Yeah.
This may be damage the urethra, cause the edema，水疹怎么说？Then you can sometimes you can not put a digestion patient with colic 啊？哦，OK， 你先拔出来。Because this is 11 study, I cannot check. Then I check again.
So, after surgery, you want to have too. Okay, so like that. And you feel so bad. Yeah. And I'm very confident with the
啊，边右边。
That's why, in that case, moving forward, then remove for 3 days.
I think it's low. It's okay.
So, so you take the sheath out and then you check again with your flexible ureteroscope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, you know, I keep my flexible ureteroscope at the tip of my sheath and then I pull the two out together while I check the ureter.
This right because for this case,
Yeah.
this is 11, 11 study,
Yeah.
and then I cannot insert galva and scope together, but for 12 and 46, I can do it.
Yeah.
Now I check it. I think it's low. It's good.
It's good.
Yeah, it's low damage. It's no damage. For this case, maybe you put a DJ stand, maybe 2 weeks enough. Yes?
Yeah. Sometimes 6 weeks. If the injury is more severe than you would like, 6 weeks. Otherwise, 2 weeks will be fine. If it's minor injury, 2 weeks will be fine. Yeah. Different people do different ways, you know. So, Professor Wu, can you ask Professor Zeng, why does he do it this way?
I'm not hearing very clearly. Because 因为他刚刚是说那个导师是没办法。
Okay. Yeah.
他没有刚刚退出来的时候，就是用。
I think this is good. Galway position is good. I must check X-ray.
Yeah.
I check it. X-ray. Oh, too much in kidney. I think it's okay, Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So, do you not put contrast in the kidney when you put the stent up? So, on your way out before you take your flexible scope out, do you not leave contrast in? So that you know that the coil is in the renal pelvis and not in the upper ureter? No, I mean, of course, Professor Zeng is so
Maybe I
experienced.
can try it. I
Yeah.
can
No.
inject it. I think it's inside. Because my
it's the same level where the stone was. We recognize the rib.
Inside.
Yeah. So we know it's definitely in, but
Yeah.
in some cases you can go very wrong if you don't put contrast in, because sometimes the upper ureter can be a bit. It can be in the upper ureter, you know. But
I mean, you see, all stone in here.
Wow. We are
sorry.
most impressed by the operations.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it's here for stone composition analysis. Okay?
Fantastic. That was an excellent demonstration.
Thank
So
you.
many tips and tricks and so many things we've learned from you. Thank you so much for sharing your all the tips that you've given us. Any other question for Professor Zeng?
Another question for you, Simon.
Yes.
After flexible, you regularly put a police cassette or not in your practice?
I regularly put contrast and regularly put a stent in after.
Oh.
Oh, a catheter. Oh, a
Catheter.
catheter. No, no. It depends on the patient. So, if the patient is young, I never put a catheter in. If the patient got a very big prostate, difficulty passing urine, then I only put a catheter in. Because in some countries, they try to send the patient home on the same day after a flexible ureteroscopy, especially if you leave a stent in. I'm sure in this patient, you can send the patient home if the patient lives in Guangzhou, but sometimes, yeah. So I mean, the operation went so well, this patient could have gone home. But if you put a catheter in, then they cannot go home.
Yeah, fully agree. For this patient is 36 years old and a younger guy, low PPH, maybe no bleeding, no fever, maybe I only empty bladder and then cannot keep the fully scheduled because this patient is day surgery. And this morning he come to the hospital and after 4 hours, everything is okay. He must go home. No better for this patient. Okay?
Yes. And especially you're using a suction sheath, so all the fluid that went into the kidney came out. The bladder was never over distended, so
Yeah.
another reason.
Yeah, this true. Correct. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much again, Professor Chen.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Everybody.
Chairman Zeng.
Thank you, Professor Wu, Abbott, and Simon, and all colleagues, all friends.
Wow, really good seeing the bendable sheath. Really appreciate that. And sharing with us of your 200 cases experience and sharing with us all the potential problems, that is not always wonderful, that can be problems. Thank you. So I think Professor Liu will be doing a multi-track mini PC